What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PixelPlay Sidequests as we continue to go through our favorite JRPGs per decade. So we are on the 2010s. We're almost done. I mean, I guess we could technically stop here because the other decade hasn't completed yet, but we're still going to do a 2020s. It's just,
we have to.
It's just, we can't really go 5 years into the future to kind of finish it. So... And we also like content where we don't have to think about topics for at least one more week. So that's kind of extra cool for us. But hey, we're not there yet. We're talking about the 2010s. So yeah, Adam, aka CS Radical, Chris, aka Jin and Chris. Kaylan is just perpetually in the top right or the top left corner, I should say. Just a shame that he doesn't play any of these and he wants to at some point. Now that he's finished Expedition 33, I mean...
Yeah. And he played Final Fantasy 16. Guys, so he's a weeb now. He's just like a weebin JRPG playing turn-based lover. Like there's no other way to describe.
I'm telling you, man. Just give me a couple more games, and we'll get him right on to Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
He'll be playing Etrian Odyssey, Persona, fucking Rune Factory.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna be going.
Yeah,
we're gonna hit the gamut with him at some point. Now, when I say months, I mean that's about how long it's going to take him to finish at least one or two of those. So, it's baby steps, okay? You got to understand.
Or just understand the order of Kingdom Hearts games based on the names, because they aren't numbered properly.
I don't care. If it doesn't have a number on it at this point, I don't care.
Just quickly read what happens so it'll fill you in.
So there's this kid. He's of the light. There's some darkness. There's like 10 billion fucking Disney characters in there. And also the Kingdom Hearts is light. Yeah, there you go.
Yay. Ooh, Toy Story. Yeah, that's how you play the game.
Yeah, sounds about right. But anyways, you know what that means. Time to flip over to ye old Photoshop. And we are going to talk about 10s. Now remember... formula. It used to be we'll bring up our ones. If they match, automatically gets that spot. And then we'll start arguing after that. And then I realized very quickly, and it's even more apparent now, we've mostly played different JRPGs from these decades. So arguing them is going to be really difficult for us to be like, you know what, I agree. I think that should be in that spot when we have nothing to base that off of. So we have a point system. So if you get a number one pick, you get 5 points. Then it goes down to 4, 3, 2, and 1. And whatever makes those spots, makes those spots. So, I mean, Chris, if your number one is something I haven't played, well, you better be keeping it in that spot to make it count, because otherwise it's going to fall across the board. But hey, we'll get to that when we get there. So, what's your number one?
So, my number one is Dragon Quest XI.
Okay.
And I know that that's not what you're going to have as your number one.
No, of course not.
I can already... No. But for me, it's just that one is... When I look at this list, to me, it's like an old school JRPG brought to modern times while still leaving all of what made JRPGs amazing intact. It didn't change too much. It just brought the graphics and the music and everything kind of modern. So for me personally, it's the number one of the 2010s.
Well, here's why you're wrong.
What's yours?
It's not even in my top 5.
Perfect.
I mean, look, like I finished 11. I begrudgingly finished it. It got really fucking grindy at the end, and did not appreciate.
Oh, the very end.
You know, when I say I'm okay, I'm a JRPG guy. I'm okay with grindy, right? There's grindy, and then there's, oh my god, I've been in the same area for 5 hours to try to get some decent levels on these guys because I can't do it anywhere else. Kind of grinding. And that's where I was with 11, and that's why I can't really give it a high rating compared to some of the other things I put on the list. That being said, I know you're a big Dragon Quest guy. You like the old stuff. And also...
I love Dragon Quest.
And also, I'm sure, when it comes to JRPGs in the 2010s, your picks are going to be probably way more harder to get than mine were.
Probably.
Well,
I'm curious what your number one is.
It's still our highest video on YouTube on this channel. I'm going to be talking about Trails of Cold Steel. I know, people are so shocked that, me, who's talked about Trails way too fucking much on this show, would bring it up again, but... Trails is, and I mean, I brought it up again when I was talking about Sky. It's just another series where it shows what long-term storytelling does. I mean, the gameplay is nothing special. I think that there's like little quirks here and there with its system that I do like, but in the end, it's all about the world. And it's always been about the world with Trails games, where it's been, at this point, Cold Steel would have been the 6th game in this franchise. Now that's about 12 in. And what it's done is like, that was the original one that I got brought into. So there is a bit of nostalgic value to that, I say, as this game is not that old to me. I know like the entire 4 games in this arc were all into the 2010s. I didn't really play them all until just before the turn of the decade. So it's not like, there's 20 years of nostalgia for me on this. It's more or less like 6 and ongoing. But what Cold Steel kind of made me understand, and Persona has been very similar with this too, is that, well, Final Fantasy is not necessary to me anymore, but also storytelling in JRPGs doesn't just have to be, over the top science fiction meets fantasy nonsensical madness that Hideo Kojima would blush at sometimes. And that you can just make a story that is, here's a bunch of rich pieces of shit, and here's you, the lower class. There's your fucking story. And you just have a bunch of small stuff in between. Is there some weird shit? Of course, it's a Japanese RPG. There's not, it would be insane if it wasn't. But the core of what it does is there's an enemy, and there's you trying to figure out how to get past that. It's not that complicated. Whereas, there are going to be, deities, there are going to be these like cryptid creatures, but at the end of the day, there's a faction you're trying to beat. That's always a key thing. There's always a human-to-human notion to it. Whereas with a lot of games, there's a person at the end, but there's not going to be a person at the end.
They're going to turn into God, and you have to defeat them.
Right. Well, I'm not going to put anything on the board yet because we don't know if anything's going to get more points overall, so I'm just going to move on to number 2, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, I don't know if this will help, but Trails of Cold Steel was my 3rd pick.
Okay, well, unless our 2s match.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
Then there'd be any competition. So I'll make note that you put it in your 3 spots, so at least it's got 8 points total, but what is your 2?
Octopath Traveler, okay, which I know you also don't have as 2.
Okay.
You can see that my top 2 picks are games that are trying to be JRPGs from the previous.
You're also talking about Square Enix games, and I'm just very ashamed of you.
If it makes you feel better, they're the only ones that made the cut.
Well, I mean, what other ones would there be?
Well, there are other ones, but yeah.
You know what? That sounds like a fun exercise. What the hell has Square Enix done in this decade that I might be missing?
All the sequels to Final Fantasy 13. Actually, Final Fantasy 13 may come out in 20. Oh, good games. Oh no, that's it. It's just those 2.
So
I mean, unless you include like I Am Setsuna and stuff, they were doing some of those. It was called like Tokyo Studio or Tokyo JRPG. I can't remember the name of the studio that they started.
I guess Final Fantasy 14 could technically count.
I have that in my honorable mentions, to be completely honest, because it is honestly the best Final Fantasy of the decade, but it's an MMO, so I didn't include it in my list.
This is a
but if we were including MMOs, I would 100% have it.
Well, okay. Final Fantasy 13-2 is fine. When I don't hate all of them, I should rephrase that. 13-2 is fine. If you like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Time Cop, you'll like Final Fantasy 13-2 because it's fucking dumb and I love it.
Let's
see here. Bravely Default, I have no opinion on. I didn't really cling to it when I played that. For like the little bit that I played it. There's a bunch of remasters. Yeah, they were really getting desperate around the early 2010s. They were like, well, no one likes their stuff. Maybe we should just keep releasing the same ones over and over again.
They did.
World of Final Fantasy was very meh. Nier Automata would be up there, but I didn't get it. So it's similar to... I never played it. Similar to how I feel about a lot of the Soulsborne games, in the way that like the story is just so like all over the place that I don't really know what's happening, and the combat's fine, but I don't have anything too crazy to say about it. And I'm starting to think there's not much else after this. There's Octopath. I mean, I think there's a mana game in there somewhere, but I don't. Yeah, no, that's not. There's not really much else.
No, that's why it's just these two for me, at least.
Well, there we go. So my number 2 is Persona 5. I actually
Nice.
up until like just before we record this video, because I reread what I wrote, because I did this like a week in advance, and I had Persona 5 at number 1, and then I went, no, I really love Persona 5, but this is favorite, not what I think is the overall best. In the same way that like 10 is my favorite, but 6 is the best. I'm like, no, we're talking about favorites in this case, so it's going to be Trails. But Persona 5 is, and obviously you'll get around to that at some point. I mean, you're playing Metaphor right now, so you know how polished Atlas JRPGs can be. Persona 5 at this point is the best version of Persona. That's even counting Persona 3 having its remake. Persona 4, if it gets a remake, I'll be interested when I do get around to play that, because that'll be a really good comparison, because 4 I think is the better overall story and characters, but 5 is the better overall in terms of gameplay and its dungeon mechanics. So like that'll be the real curious thing of what they do with Persona 4. Can it overcome the modern day controls that Persona 5 brought? Because what Persona 5 did was because 3 and 4, when they were on the PS2, they were basically like randomly generated dungeons. They had a theme, but they were still like completely randomly generated. It was like Binding of Isaac, the JRPG. And with 5, the dungeons were intentionally designed. They were crafted. They had specific puzzles to some of these rooms. There were certain placements of how the enemies were. Like there was a method to the madness in those games. And they really did further unlock the free time, life management stuff that's in there, where there is a lot to do, to the point that I always use a guide to make sure that I don't miss stuff. This was one of the ones that I definitely need to, because there is way too much to keep track of, and I'm only doing one playthrough of this. There is no New Game Plus for me on this. It's going to be a nightmare otherwise. But what it does, for those who don't want to worry about guides, and for those who just want to really make it a life sim, it's the best version of that, because it gives you so much to do. And I think it's also when they've been at their best at finding a nice variety of characters, because they have the biggest expansive roster, both in terms of party, I believe, but also in terms of your like social links, the characters that you can kind of make friends with and do other stuff, and have additions to, because like they all have their own specific purposes. Some are higher than others, but they're also radically different. Like it's not just pretty girl from your school number 1, pretty girl from your school number 2. It's here's this badass fucking punk doctor. Here's this like airsoft gun shop, like grizzled fucking like daddy. Like there's so like, if you're bi, you're in fucking heaven, because you can just loot everything in that fucking game. But it does what, because I like 4 in its cast. I don't necessarily like their NPCs nearly as much. 5's NPCs are just, I love them all. Like there's so many cool people in that. And Metaphor kind of continue that, where I like a lot of the side characters as well. I mean, Chris, I don't know how far you are in Metaphor at this point, but like Katarina, like the fucking big hair cat girl, I fucking love her.
Oh yeah, she's funny. I like her a lot.
There's also like villains in that game that are also really good. And like with Persona 5, like there's a couple of specific villain characters that are just extremely well done and very well put together. So I'm going on and on about, one game, but like, yeah, like, whereas 4, I think, is the better story and like the mystery of it, 5 is just the best overall. Like if you're just looking for, the best, like in the coolest characters, like that's where you're going to see that.
Nice. Well, if it helps with your scoring, I did have Persona 5 as number 4.
Okay.
So Trails and Persona did get there, even though I didn't play either of them. But like I said, actually, in our last episode, I was doing research, not just on the games that I did play, but I did look into some games that I know I would want to play. Trails of Cold Steel made it on for me, because I'm Trails in the Sky I've played, and I know that it's just like further along that same idea, newer graphics, newer all of that kind of stuff. So I did look into it a bit, as much as I could, before obviously ruining anything for me. I don't want any surprises ruined.
Oh man, that's gonna make some people very angry that Persona's not number 1, but I love it. Oh, I love it. That makes me so happy.
But yeah, like looking at Persona 5, which I mean, coming from playing some Metaphor, I can tell obviously the story characters and stuff are different, but I get the Atlas vibe, obviously, because Metaphor is pretty much their game right after Persona 5, I believe. Like new franchise or new like full game instead of like a remake, remaster, that kind of stuff. And Trails of Cold Steel. I mean, Trails in the Sky is like one of the best games of JRPG-ness I've ever played. So it was pretty easy that after looking into those for a bit, I was like, these two will be on my list because if I had played them, they would have beat out, X, Y, and Z that would have made my list currently. So that's how they both made it. But since I hadn't played them, obviously there were certain games that did take the top spots for me over them.
Yeah.
Just because they have, I actually played them, so they kind of win there for me.
Well, and like I said earlier, this is going to be a little bit trickier on your side because you don't have nearly the repertoire, I think, to pull from comparatively to me, because like
not in this 10-year span.
Because like
no.
this is also the era where like you were playing a lot of like you're on like this is like the PS3, PS4, so you're playing a lot of like Uncharted's and stuff like that instead of obviously a lot of this, especially because the PS3 in general too was not the strongest for RPGs in general, and Square Enix was really not helping that.
And this is also the decade where I didn't have a console until like I had a PS3. So I had that until like 2012, 2013. But then after that, I went PC only all the way up until the Switch. And then I didn't have a PlayStation or anything like that again until 2020. So I didn't have as much access to a lot of these games. I was actually pretty JRPG starved for a while and had to go with PC releases. A lot of indie titles or smaller studios, stuff like that. Because even Trails, maybe Trails in the Sky was on there, but I don't even remember when it got added to Steam and localized for the Steam store in the West. Yeah, I like it. It took a while before finally JRPGs started coming to PC. Most of it was re-releases. Square putting all the old Final Fantasies, like Final Fantasy 7 and 8, got released on Steam in 2013. And they weren't like new remasters. It was just, here's that. So it was a lot of me playing older JRPGs because they were just finally getting released and it was something I could play in general on my PC.
That's going to be the interesting thing too. Like, I wonder what this list would be like once you finally caught up on the backlog of like a lot of these, right?
Yeah, because I would have 100%. If I had a PS4, the amount of Persona Trails and Cold Steel, that kind of stuff, like the amount I would have actually played would have been a lot, like a lot.
All right, so remind me. So you said Trails was 3, and I think Persona was 4 for you?
Persona was 4, yeah. Okay. And Octopath Traveler was my 2. And I don't know what you chose for 4, actually.
Okay, I haven't even done 3 yet, so that's why I was kind of like getting a sense of where 3. I'm at. So my number 3 ended up being Fire Emblem Awakening. I had to really sit and think about that one for a sec, but I ended up putting that higher up than I would have initially had thought. But the more that I thought about it, the more that I went, okay, like, I really do like Fire Emblem, and I also hate Fire Emblem at the same time. So when I find one that I have not only finished, but have really gone ham with, and wish I could have played more of, like, it's one of the few that I have finished, and this is also like the only modern one that I've really finished, because I've beaten the original 2 that we got, which was Blazing Sword and oh my god, what was the Sacred Stones? But those were Game Boy Advance. They were shorter, a little bit easier to get through those. Awakening was the first real one that had some depth to it, some more time to it. Whereas I haven't gotten into the GameCube or the Wii ones. I tried Three Houses, really didn't like that one. I tried, what was the newest one, Chris, with the fucking Pepsi hair?
Engage? God, Engage. Yeah.
And I really didn't like that one either. So like it's a weird area where I think that Awakening really means a lot to me just because it's the one that like actually made the cut. And it's just it's one that I like. Look, we all know that like that's where Fire Emblem found what it really was, which was a waifu and husbando simulator that just happened to be, a tactics game. So we kind of got the best of both worlds at that point. But at the end of the day, it's still relatively high up there for me and has a bit of a soft spot in my heart.
Oddly enough, that was my number 5.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because while I actually did love Three Houses, I loved the school system and the characters and the story and stuff in it. Awakening, which was that on 3DS? Is that where I played that? I think Awakening was on the 3DS, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
wait.
that's what it was on.
Well, I know that's how I play. I'm trying to remember if it originally. Let me just double check, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was. It might have been a DS to start. Let's see. No, it was 3DS. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I played it to start. Yeah. And that was actually the last console I was still holding on to when I even built my PC back in 2013 and got rid of all my consoles. I wanted something portable still to like take around, and the 3DS, I couldn't let go of it. It was like the one console that I was like struggling to let go of. And I had Awakening and played on there and everything, and it was fantastic. Like it was a really, really good game. Three Houses, that was one I sunk a lot more time into on my Switch and everything like that because it was bigger and all that kind of stuff. But if I truly had to actually be like, all right, which one do I want to go back and play again? That's how I kind of based it on this. Because I don't even know if I finished Awakening. Again, it was a weird time for me where I was getting out of consoles, and it was one of the last games I had on that 3DS, which I still have actually somewhere around here. Um, yeah, and I actually remember loving that game, and I more just stopped playing it because I was switching away from consoles and eventually just was so engrossed with my PC that I kind of just never went back to it. But I thought if I was going to go back and play one of these two Fire Emblem games today, because Engage is like later on, that's not a 2010s game. It was like, all right, would I go to Awakening? Would I go to Three Houses? Which one would I really go to? And Awakening was the one I kept, having in my mind. Like, no, that's the one I would go back to. So that actually ended up being my number 5, right after Persona and Trails.
So I ended up putting that in the 4 spot just because it's the only one that we actually both had. Kind of makes it a good tiebreaker there, and then that puts Octopath Traveler automatically in the 5 spot because even whatever we put the rest of it's not going to get enough points to kind of equal that out. But we will still talk about them nonetheless. So my number 4 is going to be Yakuza Like a Dragon. It would have been higher, but I had trouble the first time I played it because I didn't get it. And then I played it a second time and went, oh, now I understand the mechanics and I liked it a lot more. I'm really torn of now that I've had like 2 of them in, I'm torn whether or not I like this more than the crazy combat style of like the old Kiryu games. I think I'd have to go play Yakuza 0 again to kind of get a sense of that again because now it's been a while. Like there was the one that came out recently, The Man Who Erased His Name. And it was fine, but like I didn't feel the same like holy shit this game is incredible that I did with say the what's the word I'm looking for? Like I guess like Yakuza 0 would just have like the best overall kind of package with it. Like it seemed like it was at its best in terms of its story. It seemed like it was at the best in terms of its wackiness. Like it had the best balance I found.
Yeah, it was that game's perfect. God, I love that game so much.
And then my number 5 was just to quickly go over them because, well, I've already talked about most of it with Cold Steel, but that was Trails from Zero and Azure, which was the second arc that also came out during that same time. Similar reasons to why I like Trails games as a whole. It's just those ones were a little more antiquated. They were that like PSP, PS Vita, top-down style that like the Sky games were originally, which, obviously with the new remake that's coming out later this year, it's going to make Sky that much better. Zero and Azure, a lot of people say is actually the best arc out of all of them. I see why people say that because I think there's some really interesting storytelling in that one. It just doesn't hit me in the same way of like it could just be that it's like the third arc that I tried. It could also just be that most of the characters just didn't do it for me. But it's a personal choice at that point. So that leaves your number 5.
My number 5 was Fire Emblem Awakening.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we've already gone over my 5 because a bunch of them lined up with you.
Well, then it works out kind of nicely, doesn't it? Well, I mean, like, I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this list as a whole being like, well, this is... I mean, they probably agree with most of it. I'm sure just the one that I think a lot of people are going to stand out as being like, wow, Cold Steel number 1. Look, again, it's our favorite, and I have a massive bias on this series, so there's nothing you can do to stop me on that one. I mean, you can look at Persona 5 as being really the de facto number 1, which I think is well
I'm sure if we went by like Metacritic, something like that. Like I'm sure Persona 5 is going to be the one that does take the top spot. I even had a quick look at those lists, and some of the ones that were in number 1, 2, 3, 4 aren't the ones that I personally chose.
Yeah, because
But
like,
yeah.
Persona 5 is at a 95. Basically, all the Cold Steel games on Metacritic are like at an 80. Again, this is why personal preferences matter here. A Dragon Quest 11 is anywhere between an 85 and a 91, depending on which console it's on. Fire Emblem Awakening is a 92, and Octopath Traveler is an 83. So yeah, like realistically, when you look at it, like we've put most of the best ones on there. It's
Oh,
just
100%.
it's a matter of personal preference, like we said before. Like if we were really doing like, you know, what we think was the best offering, I don't even know if I put Cold Steel on the list, if I'm being real. If I was talking about like overall like what it means to JRPGs, but that wasn't the conversation. It was favorites. So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I only had a few honorable mentions from this decade. So I had Final Fantasy 13 too, which you had mentioned, because I did actually enjoy that game. It was, kind of. It took me. Sorry, my Alexa speaker started talking because I think it thought I was talking to her. I was like, "Who the heck is in my basement?" Uh, but yeah, like is my video frozen?
yeah, your video's frozen. It's been frozen for a while. I've just ignored it.
Oh, what is happening? Why
Look,
do I look like that?
technology is difficult, all right? And now he's refreshing. Now, see, now you're just interrupting the flow of the show. I don't know how you're gonna edit this out. You've caused this now.
Can you hear me at least?
Yeah,
still?
I can hear you just fine. That has never been a problem. You've just been in perfect. Like you've been puppeteering for like 15 minutes, and it's been fantastic.
Cool. Thanks, Discord. So I'm gonna just finish what I was saying, and then who cares? Oh, cool.
No,
so
Discord. We're not having problems with video calls. It's you. But anyways.
Yeah, it's you, Discord. So for Final Fantasy 13 2, I actually really enjoyed it. I put Final Fantasy 14. I genuinely think that's one of the best JRPGs, air quotes, of the decade. If I was including MMOs, like I feel that truly was a Final Fantasy, and like the best Final Fantasy of the decade, that decade specifically. But I also had Tales of Berseria and Tales of Zestiria, however you say those. I love the Tales of games, and I know I haven't put any on the list. It's because I don't think they ever beat out the other JRPGs.
I don't know if I've ever
They're
told
more
you
like
this too. You should watch if you didn't even know it exists. You should watch the Zestiria anime. It is one of the most beautiful anime because it's done by a really top-notch studio. So it's just gorgeous.
All right, yeah, I knew it existed. I always forget to actually go and I don't even really watch enough TV or at all, like regardless if it's anime or anything at this point. I gotta get in and go watch that because Zestiria was a weak Tales of game. I found it not the most exciting. And Berseria was like a much darker toned Tales of game, which again, not my favorite because I prefer more the Tales of Vesperia, Tales of Symphonia, where it's a lot lighter, colorful, and like by the power of friendship. Like it's that kind of Tales of game. But yeah, so they're in my honorable mentions, but like there's no way any of those could have competed with the ones that were in my top 5, which are in the top 5 here on the screen, actually.
Yeah, so it's UFO Table that did it. They've done some really incredible work with how a lot of their stuff just looks fucking unreal. I'm trying to think like what other they were big on doing I think it was Fate. Yeah, they did a lot of the Fate Stay Night stuff, and that was really high quality. They've been doing Demon Slayer for the longest time now. Like that's been their big project, and of course they're just incredible animators. Like I don't care for Demon Slayer, but it is fucking gorgeous. I will admit that. But yeah, they did 26 episodes. They actually did 2 seasons of the Dysteria one. It does do a little bit of Berseria stuff in there as well, so you liking both of them is also gonna add to that as well. But yeah, if there was any anime based on your like what you've played, like obviously Cyberpunk Edge Runners, but apart from that, there is the Tales anime that I think is very
good. Yeah, I got to give them a go. Oh, my camera's trying to think again.
It's still trying to figure it out. I think this is a good sign that we should probably take this off the air now. So
yeah.
Well,
yeah. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, no, well, apologize for what? Discord?
Stupid Discord doing its Discord things.
So yeah, that's our list. I'm sure you guys agree with it. Well, you know what that means. Comment below. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what you think should be the number 1 or number 2 or hell, number 3. Ooh, risque. But anyways, you guys know the drill here on YouTube. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We genuinely appreciate that. And you got the link tree there at the bottom of your screen, which is in the description, which has the link to our Discord. Come shoot the breeze with us. We're always happy to talk with new folks there. So we will see you next week. We will be finishing off this series and we talk about 2020s as it stands at this point. Sorry, we won't be predicting future games because I'm sorry, Chris, but there's not going to be a Chrono sequel that we'll be talking about in this decade. So I hate to break it to you.
Do not even say that. You take that back because we don't know.
I can't. We can't go into the future and we can't go into the past now. We don't have that time capability. Just have to deal with that. But anyways, thank you so much for checking us out here on this week's Sidequest. So have a good one wherever you may be. Take care. Bye-bye for now.